All right, what's up everyone? This is Don with Third Creative, and this is the walkthrough tutorial video for terrain, cross country, and golf. In this video, I'm going to thoroughly go through all of the layers, the processes, and then hopefully when I'm done, I will have covered anything and everything you would possibly need to know in order to use this template design and create the best images possible. Before we jump into it, a few quick things. I think one thing that stands out about this design is the full body images with either the grass or the dirt texture, which I'll scroll down so you can see it a little bit better. I really like the full body, but I know it's not right for every job, so I've got you covered. Have no fear. If you are not wanting to create ground shadows, I totally understand. Every single file in this template bundle has an option to hide feet. So don't let that scare you away. I didn't make a lot of sample images for this one. It's early August. I'm trying to get as many templates out as I can before the onslaught of photo shoots hits me, which I only have a few days left. So I just kept it simple. I've got one subject in here for the cross country. I've got one in for golf. I think that gives you an idea. There's not a whole lot to this in terms of customizing it anyways. Really just changing some of the color of the text for the most part. Maybe this pattern that you see, this topographical pattern, but more than likely, you know, there's hardly anything you're going to have to do to this, which is kind of nice sometimes. But you can kind of see some of the sample images here, and hey, you can see where this video is going to go. Let's jump in. All right, so I'm working with a 4x5 file. Just keep in mind that what I go over here, it's going to apply to the other files as well. There's a few unique differences about the horizontals or the game day, but they're pretty self-explanatory. What we go over here with this file will be more than enough to to get you going. So one thing you'll notice right off the bat is the layer panel is completely stripped down. 2 layer folders. This is a little bit different. I initially thought about trying to share layers between golf and cross country and just have different things you turn on or turn off. It got way too complicated, and so basically what I did is I designed it for cross country, put it all in a folder, duplicated it, and then went in and changed everything I needed to make it work for golf. So when you open it up, you just decide which one am I needing, which one am I not needing. So whichever one you're not going to need, you can select that layer folder and hit the delete button. And just at that point, you would go ahead and save it under a new file name. Just make sure you keep your master files. We'll go ahead and undo that and jump into it. Let's look at cross country. I'm going to open up the folder. You can see there's a little bit going on here, but really it's pretty simple. At the very bottom, you do have the option to change the background color. It is white, and I feel like probably 95% of the time most of you are just going to leave it at white because it looks really good. If you do want to change the background color, it's very simple. Double click this icon in your layer panel and use your color picker. You can use the slider and come over here and try to find the level of saturation and lightness and darkness that you want. Now you can see that's pretty busy, so if you are wanting to change the background color to something, what I would recommend, if you're going to keep this ground texture in here, make sure you've got some good contrast with that between it so that that stands out. And then another thing I would do is this white XC that you see here and the one down at the border, you want very minimal contrast with that. So if we went with this blue for a background, I would find a shade of blue that is just slightly darker or slightly lighter than this, and so it's super subtle. So if I cancel that, just like I did with the white here, you can see it, but it's super subtle, and it hopefully, you know, whether or not it's too busy is going to be subjective, but I think it's just right. Next we have background, very subtle background image. So the image that you see inside this XC is the same image that is used in the background. You can see some of the texture back here. I have the blend mode set to multiply. If you change the color, you could experiment between multiply and the blend mode darken, but then you could also increase the opacity if it needs to be a little more, or may possibly less visible. But if I start to move that up, you can see it's going to show through more. But again, it's just finding the right amount or the right level so that it's not too distracting or too busy. Next, we have those background XC accent layers. So we've got a big one that's behind here. If I turn it off, maybe you can see, yeah, it goes away. So maybe you don't want that. Maybe you need to change the color, but really you shouldn't have to do much, if anything, with that. And the same thing for this one that's down in the very bottom. You can kind of see it extends up right here. If I turn it off, it goes away. So it's up to you whether you leave that in there or not. And just like any other text layer, if you double click on the T, you can highlight it. You can come up to the top and you can change the color if you want to. We'll back out of that. Next, we have our 3 topographical patterns. And so you'll see up here in the left-hand corner in the top, bottom left, and then over here on the right border, there's one for each. So you can go to your move tool, click and scale, move them around if you are feeling creative and want to play around with it. Otherwise, if you just want to change the color, they all have their own color overlay. So you just double click the word color overlay, click on this little color box here to get your color picker up, and it's pretty simple. You can use these sliders and pick any color you want. You can make them all the same, you can make them different, totally up to you. These 2 layers here are the accent layers, the XC1 for the top left and the bottom right. So this is one you might want to change, and really it's just double clicking the icon to get the text layer highlighted or selected. From there, you could click in between the 2 letters and either drag left or right to select the letter that you want to change the color for. If you want them to all be the same color, you can just select and highlight them all. But if you select the X, you can come up and you can make it any color you want. Same thing for the C. Same process. So you get the idea. You can customize it to your school's colors or your team's colors. So same thing applies to both of these. Again, you can scale them larger or smaller, move them around if you want to. Next, we have our lower XC border accent. So it's down here. It's just a little edge of the X and the C that's spilling onto the border of the canvas or the frame here. And if I open it up, it's a text layer. And then I have this dirt overlay clipped to the folder. So if you turn it off, you can see you can go with color if you want to. You could move this around if you wanted to. Little wiggle room there for creativity, but again, most of you are just going to leave that just as it is. We've got one up here in the top right hand corner, so instead of the ground, we've got a sky texture. So you can see I've got that clipped to this folder. Inside the folder is another text layer. You could turn off the sky if you want just solid color, totally up to you. Down at the bottom right hand corner, I've got a sample team logo. I think it's kind of a nice touch to add it in there. You delete this or turn it off and replace it, or just not replace it. Totally up to you. We've got this accent text down here. I put in run, but it can be changed to anything you want, or it could be turned off if you don't want it. Totally up to you. Next, we've got this large XC behind your subject. So if I open that up, you can see it's pretty simple. We've got this text layer, so it can be scaled if you want, but I've got this, call it a shape layer, and it just creates this bar right here so that the white cross country pops and stands out. So it's kind of like a frame. So you can see I can play around with that. More than likely you just leave it just like it is. Close that up. We've got our background image that's clipped to this folder. I kind of set it up where you get a little piece of the sky, you get the sun, you can see the trail for the most part, but if you wanted to scale it larger, smaller, or move it around, different look, you could play around with that if you wanted to. More than likely, you'll just leave it though. So next we've got our mascot name. It's up here in the top left. Very simple. Double click on that. Type your new mascot name in there, and the year you can change the same way. I've got it where it kind of lines up just right there. Next we've got the word cross country, so it's white. You could potentially change the color of that if you wanted to. You could sample from the sky or the grass. Just want to make sure there's enough contrast there. I've got it set to white so that it matches the background. And that's it for that. We're almost done. Got two name text layer folders. This one is if you want it vertical like this, but if you want it to be horizontal like this, you just turn on the one that you want to use. Now, obviously that doesn't look right, so you would want to adjust it if you were going to keep the dirt and the full body option in there. But that's totally up to you. I'll open that up. You can see I was in a hurry trying to get this out, and I forgot to change this to say first name and last name, but I'll try to get that done. But you guys will figure that out. You can just simply double click on any of these and type in your new name. A lot of you are using automation, so it'll do it for you. And just like any other text layer, when you have it selected, you can come up to the top and you can change the color to anything you want. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. I do have senior, junior, sophomore, freshman options. If you're doing this manually, you would just turn on the respective one and it should fit just perfectly. You can change the color just like any other text layer, or you can turn them all off and not use them. Totally up to you, and the same thing applies for the horizontal. It looks the same, set up the same. Let's go to the subject image folder, turn that on. So here you can see we've got the show feet option turned on. I can turn that off, and I can turn on the hide feet option. So the hide feet option, you can see I don't have any of the name text. This is where the horizontal, if I go back to it, I think it was down here, but you can put it anywhere that you want that looks good. So you can decide which option you want to use. You just turn on the respective folder for it. Pretty simple. And then you can which orientation you want your athlete name to be. Pretty simple. So let's look at the show feet option. I left the sample subject image in there along with two reusable ground shadows. They're just the soft shadows. They're not the contact shadow. So if we zoom in here so you can see a little bit better, I'm going to turn that off. You see it's very subtle. I've got the opacity at like 40%. If we move it out of the way, you can see what it is. It's just a soft circle scrunched down with reduced opacity, and these you can manipulate these, so you can make them, you know, different widths, heights. You could even make them darker if you want to increase the opacity. That's what 100% looks like. So you can right click and duplicate so that you can use them for would I hit delete maybe? You can also hit Option or Alt and click and drag like this to duplicate them so that you can use them for other subjects. As you build up your subjects in this folder, you just duplicate them and you just position them how you want under their feet. Now this doesn't give you the actual contact shadow that you see in here, but really all I do for that is just above the soft ground shadow, which I don't know, I've moved everything around here now, but would be right there. Once you have that, you can just come down hit this little plus icon to get a new layer. Go to your brush tool, make sure it's on the soft round, so 0% hardness. You can go with, I've got this at 20%, maybe 30% opacity, 30% flow. And once you have that, you just, well, I have a Wacom pen, but you can just kind of paint in like this. Now, I'm doing it so that you can kind of see what I'm doing, but I would actually be doing that right here under their feet. So this is just going to add to what I already have, but if I keep going, you can see I'm just painting and just a little bit of contact underneath the shoe. A little bit goes a long way. You don't have to be super, you know, perfect about it, but that's how I create my ground shadows. So another reason why this full body isn't right for every single job, depending on how many athletes you've got to create images for. But, you know, senior banners or something like that, definitely a nice touch. The other thing, I guess, that I did not cover, if I open that back up, is if you come all the way down, you'll see this dirt option. So that's what they're standing on there. And so we've got our dirt image in here, which if I move it over, you can see a little bit of grass too. It's just a little piece of this main image that was used, lined up just right. But the layer mask here, which is already unlocked, you can lock it or unlock it by clicking right here in between the folder and the layer mask. But if you unlock it, you could then control the mask. If you select the mask, you could make it deeper, which I would actually have to move this in order to accommodate for that, but you can play around with that if you want to make it, like if your subject doesn't fit it just right, you know, you can make adjustments to it. You can make it narrower if you want it narrower. You can make it wider. So that's one way that you can make little fine-tuned adjustments if you feel like you need to. That's pretty much it. The only other thing is an optional sun flare, and so it's on top of the subject image, so it spills onto her just a little bit. If I turn it off, you can see what it does. But the idea is to just give the appearance of sunlight spilling onto the subject. You may or may not want that, so you can always turn it off if you don't want it. But just know that it's there, and if it's making your subject look a little bit different, then that's the reason. And that's it. If you open up Golf, you'll notice it's the same exact setup. It's just, you know, the text says Golf instead of XC, and I used a different background image. I've got a golf course instead of a running trail. So that's it. That might be the fastest one, and I was still being super thorough. If there is anything that I didn't cover, always feel free to reach out to me. My email is don@thirdcreative.com. That is it for this one. Let's see if I can squeeze out one more design before all my photo shoots start. So it's already time to move on to the next one. Until then, thank you for watching, and we will see you.